The Pacers have a problem. And it's not due to the lack of talent. In fact, it may not be due to their coach. Even though that may be a problem, it's not the biggest issue. It's not the one that's most glaring. In fact, it's not even the most difficult decision to make. Now, yes, I don't know what to do with the coach. I don't know if he deserves a second year. I don't really know if he's earned it, whatever. That's not the problem. And I know they've been through injuries this year, but the Pacers are currently sitting at 33-36. Currently playing a game against the Bucks right now that they will probably lose, but, you never know. And if you've been a fan of the Pacers or just been a fan of basketball, you've noticed that that's a lot worse than normal. Typically, in most years, they have been a contender. Maybe not contending for the championship, but contending for a solid seed, a home court advantage in the first round. In fact, getting it last year, and even taking LeBron James' Cavs to 7 games in 2017, a team that would end up making the finals. But this year has been a lot different. I know they're coming off a pandemic with a new coach, and they've had a lot of injuries. But just listen to these stats that they've been getting from some of these players. Sabonis obviously has been the MVP of the team. He's had 21 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 53%. Brogdon has given them 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. Oladipo in 9 games given them 20 points per game. LeVert, since he's joined the team, has given them 21, 5, and 5. Turner, who's been playing at a Defensive Player of the Year level this year on the defensive end, has given them 13 points, 7 rebounds, 3.4 blocks. McConnell's even pitched in 9 points, 6.5 assists, 2 steals. Brissett, coming from the G League, has been a steal for them on both ends, shooting almost 40% from 3, something that probably he won't be able to keep up, considering he was not a good shooter down in the G League. McDermott's having a career year from more than just the 3-point line. Jeremy Lamb, Aaron Holiday, Goga have all stepped up and given them good games at times. Edmund Sumner has been an amazing spark plug off the bench, at times giving them 20 points per game, showing he has a lot of potential. Keelan Martin just put up 25 points for them. This is a lot of talent. Too much talent. I don't care how many injuries. That is too much talent to be 3 games under 500. Maybe even 4 after tonight. A team that can make a push to the next level. But to do that, they have to make a tough decision. One that creates a paradox, a conundrum. One that creates the Pacers paradox. Now, for the last 3-4 years, the Pacers have been running a 2-center team. They've had Sabonis and they've had Turner. Well, not exactly, because Sabonis came off the bench for that run in 2017, but once Thad Young kind of went out of the way, Sabonis and Turner have been starting together. But here's the thing. Turner and Sabonis are both naturally centers. The NBA has long strayed away from 2-center lineups, and even though Sabonis and Turner have been very contrast to each other, very big opposites, it doesn't change the fact that it doesn't really work. So it kind of makes you think that they have to make a decision between one of them, because both of them have obviously put up really good numbers. I've just talked about them. Both of them deserve to be starting on NBA rosters, but it's really hard for them to do that on the same team, as we have seen over the last 2 or 3 years. It kind of leaves you with 3 choices here. Technically, it leaves you with 4, but the 4th one is getting rid of them both, and that just doesn't seem very logical because, like I said, they're both very good players. So unless you're just having a massive blow-up, I don't really see trading both of them, especially since they're both 24. And that's a key part. They're both 24. They're both very young and both have a very bright future in this league. So, like I said, it's tough to get rid of either of them. But like I said, the 3 choices here are you keep both of them and try to run it the same way you've been doing it. You get rid of Sabonis, and on the other side of the coin, you get rid of Turner. Now, looking at the first one, it's keeping both of them. And like I said, in the NBA, 2 centers just don't work. It clusters up the offense too much. You aren't able to really run the offense as freely. When you had Oladipo and you had a very ISO-heavy offense, it worked a little bit. But teams were just able to double-team Oladipo, and it kind of ruined that. And like I said, the offense gets very clustered, and it's tough for them to run freely like they want to. And that's, like I said, that's the big problem. When you look at the defensive end, it works. But it's not because they work well together. It's just because Turner is such a good defensive player that they can be okay. At times, a lot of times even, Sabonis will get exposed. for his lack of defensive ability, whether he has to guard the big man or someone on the perimeter. They run small offenses, and it kind of screws them. However, like I said, with Turner's defensive ability, they get the job done. Don't get me wrong. It can work on that end. However, like I said, you look back at the offensive end, that's where the issue lies. That's where the issue has always lied. And some people will say, well, just stagger their minutes. And it would work out. But the problem is, you still have to find that balance on defense, especially when Turner comes off the court. You look at a game against the Nuggets from March 15th of 2021. The game was pretty tight going back and forth until the fourth quarter. However, in the second quarter, the Nuggets went on a 22-2 run with Turner off the bench. Well, that's bad enough, right? And when he came on, the run pretty much ended right away. But then the fourth quarter started, and the game was... Actually, Pacers were up by 4. The Pacers were up by 4, and going into the fourth quarter. Turner came off the court at the end of the third, and once the fourth quarter started, the Nuggets went on a 17-2 run, won to finally take the lead and not give it back. Turner in that game ended up with a +5 and a 15-point loss. Sabonis ended up with a -15. Now, I'm not trying to say that game was on Sabonis. I'm not trying to say it was his fault. But you look at that game, and it's glaringly obvious that the defense right now needs Miles Turner. And I don't want to say that, like I said, I don't want to say it's all on Sabonis and it's all on him as a big man. Part of it is on the lack of defense from the perimeter. One that took a really big hit once they lost Dan Burke, who's doing a fantastic job over there in Philadelphia. And again, it could just come down to the coaching, and you could get a better, defensive scheme maybe, because obviously that hasn't worked with Bjorken. But at the end of the day, it's not just been this year, but it's been many years where them together does not work. It will not bring you a championship. Because that's what you're looking at, right? The overall goal is to win a championship. It's not just to win games, it's to win a championship. Because if we're being honest here, the one with the option of these three with the highest floor is to keep both of them. Because they will get you wins. They will win games. The problem is you won't win championships. It doesn't really have a high enough ceiling for it to make enough sense to go with it. It's the same reason they fired McMillan last year. He just didn't have a high enough ceiling. He wasn't making it out of the first round. And even if he did, it just didn't really feel like he had the presence to win that team a championship. He's a great coach. He's a fantastic coach. One that deserves a job in certain places. Like I said, Atlanta was a great spot for him. And it doesn't make sense to keep going with Turner and Sabonis when they've kind of stalled out in their ability to play together. But that leaves the two options. Do you keep Sabonis and get rid of Turner? Or do you keep Turner and get rid of Sabonis? And this is where the paradox occurs. Because if you get rid of Sabonis and you keep Turner, you are getting rid of a player who is averaging 21 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, and right now is playing at an MVP-like level. If you think I'm talking in hyperbole right now, think again. Because listen to these stats in May, since he's come back from his small injury that he occurred in mid-April. His first game back was against OKC, the game where they won by 57. He had a +49. He had 26 points, 14 assists, and 19 rebounds. The next game, he had 32 points, 19 rebounds, and 9 assists. The next game, 17 points, 8 assists, 13 rebounds. The next game, 30 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds. The next game, 30 points, 13 rebounds, 13 assists. The next game, 21 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists. And then the game against their last game against Philadelphia, 16 points, 15 assists, and 13 rebounds. That's an MVP level right there. If you play at that level the entire year, you're at least getting MVP votes. You may not win it, depending on how well your team does and how well someone else does in that year, but you're getting MVP votes. I mean, that's an MVP level right there. Now, can he keep it up for a whole year? Probably not. But on the surface, I mean, these stats right here, and you compare them to Turner's 13 points and 7 rebounds, the choice is obvious, right? However, look at games where Turner doesn't play. Their offense, is up and down, don't get me wrong, but their defense is just abysmal. You're looking at giving up 129 points to the Hawks, 116 to the Thunder, 133 to the Trailblazers, 130 to the Nets. An injured Nets, by the way, who had like one player in that game. Giving 154 to the Wizards, 133 to the Wizards again. 126 to the Hawks. If you've been a fan of the Pacers for the last couple of years, you're accustomed to this team playing very good defense. And this year, that has been because of Turner. There's no other way around it. And here's what I want to look at. At the beginning, or throughout the most of the year, before Turner's big injury, he had missed 3 games this year. 3 games. And in those games, they lost by 33 to the Clippers and gave up 129 points. They then lost by 12 points to Dallas and then gave up 124. Finally, in a game in which they lost by 27 to Milwaukee on national television, gave up 140. The other games in which he has played, they average about 100 to 105, maybe 110. That's almost a 20-point difference per game. Per game! So it's tough to get rid of Turner because the defense right now needs Miles Turner. And I'm not saying it's impossible to build around Sabonis and have a good defense around him. In fact, it's more than possible. It's very probable. The problem with the Pacers is that they right now need Miles Turner on the defensive end. However, they need Sabonis on the offensive end. But you can't play them together. And that's where the paradox lies. That's where the conundrum happens. Is that you need both these players, but you can't have both these players if you want to win a championship. Now, like I said, you can build around one of them. In fact, it's very easy around Turner. It's very plausible around Sabonis. Oshae Brissett may be the key in that cog if he can keep it up. Obviously, it's been in a very small sample size, and who knows if he can keep that throughout the next year, and so on and so forth. But you have to make a choice, and they have to make a choice this year, right? Because you're not going to give a lot of time, and they could very well run it back with Turner and Sabonis, but it's just not the right choice. And I think the world knows that. The world knows that. The problem is that it's tough to give up on one of them. Because like I said, you're either giving up on a Defensive Player of the Year candidate every year, even if he doesn't get the respect he deserves. He is a candidate every year. And at very least, an all defensive player. Or giving up someone like Sabonis, who is having, 18, 19 Jokic numbers. Who is 24 and could very likely jump into an MVP possible player if he can take the same jump Jokic takes. There's one more key component to someone like Miles Turner. Indiana is not a favorable basketball spot. It's very easy to see. You get someone like Paul George, who for years was played for Indiana, and the fans loved him. But once your time runs out, you leave. Oladipo, another one. An Indiana-bred player. Eventually wanted out. So finding a player like Turner who wants to play here, who has wanted to play here for years and has embraced the culture like he has, when he probably shouldn't have wanted to, when the team has not used him right on the offensive end and used him correctly, it's very rare. It is very, very rare. And it's tough to give up a key cog like Turner, who is the longest tenured Pacer at this point, by the way. He is the longest tenured Pacer on the roster. So it's hard to give up on someone like him when he wants to be here. He wants to do this for the fans, and he wants to win a championship here. But again, it's a business, and you have to make the right choice. I don't know what that choice is. I'm not trying to give you what side is the better side here. Because at this point, I don't know. I don't know what the better choice is. I've been thinking it, honestly, for a couple of years, but especially this year. Hard, and I've tried to come to a conclusion, and I've been on one side, and then I'll be on the other side. And I haven't been able to find the best solution. I haven't been able to even think of what the best solution is. And I don't envy the front office, Kevin Pritchard, who has to make this choice. But at the end of the day, and I hate to say this because, like I said, I really like them both. They both are very, very skilled. As long as one of them is gone by this offseason, I'll be happy. Right? Because I know there is skill in these players. And I know as long as one of them's still here, we'll have a talented player. But there's the paradox. Is that one choice will get you this, the other choice will get you this, but you need both. You need both of their skills. Now, can Sabonis develop into a great defender, or can Turner develop into an offensive superstar? That's really the question. And like I said, I think Turner has more potential to develop into a solid offensive player than Sabonis has potential to develop into a solid defensive player. But at this point in their careers, it's not an easy decision. And it's not one with a correct answer. Now, there probably is a correct answer out there, but at this point, there isn't really a correct answer. And whatever answer it is, it'll play out over as years go on, and at least one of them is out of Indy. But until then, the Pacers paradox will live on. And unfortunately, the way the front office runs the team, it may never be answered. Hopefully one day they'll be able to answer the paradox correctly. Because like I said, there is a right answer in there. It's just not going to be easy to find. And it may not be an easy thing to do. Like I said, moving on from Turner, someone who has been a key cog in Indiana for years, is not an easy decision. But moving on from Sabonis, who is putting up MVP level numbers right now, is also not an easy decision. But I just want one thing. One thing before I die, and that's to witness a Pacers championship. Because I've witnessed a Colts championship, even though I was really young. And I've witnessed a Cardinals championship, even though, again, it's been 10 years at this point. God damn. But I have not ever witnessed a Pacers championship. In fact, no one has witnessed a Pacers NBA championship. They've been close. And I believe wholeheartedly there's enough talent on this team to make that a reality. It's just picking the right talent to build around. Picking the right role players. And picking the right coach. And overall building this team to be that winner. That's all I really have for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed me ranting about the Pacers paradox and one that's created a decision that I don't even know what the best outcome is. But if you guys did, please leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more. Until next time, this is Lucas signing off, and I'll see you guys later.